Okay, I think we'll get started here. Thank you all for coming. Quite honestly, we did not know how many people would show up. Obviously, this is a very important forum, so thank you all for coming here. My name is Cliff Solomon, and I am in charge of the Social Justice Committee here at First United Methodist Church. And so thank you very much for showing up. Just a couple housekeeping issues and maybe a little bit, make that help. Bathrooms down the hall. Do silence your cell phones, please. And I also would like to thank several people who have helped me with the AV work here. Jim Williams is back dealing with the sound. Tom Emery, you probably met Tom downstairs. He's helping guide people up to this room. And then also Lester Valenzuela, who's not with us, but we rely on Lester for all of our AV work, and I do want to mention Lester. We do in fact have translation, so if anyone needs translation, we do have a gentleman, Jose Perez, who is in back, so we do have translation available for you. So with that, I would like to turn it over to our new pastor. He's been with us several months now, Pastor Platon.
Good evening, and welcome to the First Methodist Church of Santa Maria. I believe we're the only mall that is directly across the mall, so we have that distinction. Also, we are celebrating our 150th founding anniversary next year in 2023. On behalf of our leaders and members of the church, we would like to thank the League of Women Voters of the Santa Maria Valley for giving us the opportunity to offer our wonderful facility for this gathering tonight. And we just want to make clear to everyone that we do not endorse any of the candidates. However, we do hope that by having this event here at our church, that we can help in some way in helping our fellow community members be informed about our city council candidates and what they can do to move this wonderful city of Santa Maria forward. And so with that, I bid you good evening, and let me now return to our moderators for tonight.
Now I'll introduce our moderator, Virginia. I've already done that. So Virginia Souza.
Oh, wow. Congratulations for coming out tonight on a Friday night. This is important. So glad you're all here to listen and learn, just like I am. I'm Virginia Souza, the current president of the League of Women Voters of Santa Maria Valley, serving all of North Santa Barbara County. Thanks, Cliff, for the opening and for setting all of this up. Cliff and Pam were responsible for setting all of this forum up today. Before we begin tonight's forum for City Council Districts 3 and 4, I'd like you to all stand, please, for the salute to the flag. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And we need a couple more chairs. I think there's a couple of seats right here on the aisle. And a land acknowledgement. The League of Women Voters Santa Maria Valley humbly acknowledges that we are speaking tonight within the traditional homelands of the Chumash tribe. We recognize and are grateful for the First Nations who set an example of how to live in harmony with the natural world. The League of Women Voters was formed over 100 years ago when women were marching for the right to vote. We are very proud of that heritage. The mission of our organization is to work on voter access and registration, as well as providing fair and factual education on issues and elections. We are nonpartisan, meaning that as an organization we do not support any candidates or support any political parties. We have accepted membership from men as well as women for many years now. Non-citizens are also welcome as non-voting members. Students recently have been offered free memberships. We hope that you will feel our work is valuable after tonight's forum. Making tonight possible are the forum sponsors. We want to thank the Fund for Santa Barbara, NAACP, the Santa Maria Times, and also the pastor of the First United Methodist Church for making this historic church building available tonight. And finally, thank you to all 4 candidates who so kindly made themselves available to answer all of your questions, some of which were submitted by persons who could not be with us tonight. Now I'll go over tonight's forum and the format. To the audience, thank you for being here. You each have been given a 3x5 card, I hope, at least one, or maybe 2 cards. You can use these in 2 ways. You can write numbers 1 through 10 down one side of the card, and then the name of the candidate whose answer you like the best on the 10 questions, up to 10 questions tonight. That would be one way to score. Or you can also jot down questions that you might have for the panel during the first part of this program. We allow no vocal questions or noise of any kind during the forum. We are recording this forum. The recording on YouTube will be provided tomorrow, so it will be on the League of Women Voters YouTube channel tomorrow. No other video or still photos may be taken tonight unless authorized by the sponsors, and the League video may not be edited. We will expect everyone here tonight to have behaved civilly during the evening, even the little dog that I saw, very well behaved, I can see. Be civil even to those that we may not agree with. I ask you to please hold your applause until the very end of the forum. Candidates, again, thank you for being willing to serve your community. Candidates are not to speak of or to other candidates, but address the audience at all times when answering the question. So it's going to be your point of view on the question. With that being said, let's begin. We have sent 2 questions ahead of time to the candidates. The answers will be timed. Timers, could you please stand? We have Laura Selkin and Pam Gates will be the timers. Pam has some time paddles, so 1 minute, 30 seconds, 15 seconds, and stop. So when the stop comes up, that's it. After the 2 questions, we're going to have a 15-minute intermission, and that's when you get to write your questions. And there will be some question sorters in the audience who will pick those up, and they'll sort those based on the topic. So we hope to have at least 5 questions, and on a wide variety of topics. And that's also a time to use the restroom. Now please remember to turn off your electronics, and we will begin. The order the candidates are seated was chosen at random, and they will answer in a rotating order. So we're going to start with the first question at the far end of the table, and the next question then will be started at the second candidate, at the second person at the table, and so forth. So there's no perceived advantage in the order in which they're going to answer the questions. So the first question. What is your experience and education that has prepared you to be an effective city council person, and why are you running? Dr. Karamitsos?
Thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. I am Dr. Carol Karamitsos. Yesterday morning, we candidates had the opportunity to attend the official candidates briefing led by the city manager, Jason Stillwell. I really appreciated the time and attention given to us by the city leadership in covering an overview of their respective departments, the organizational structure, and the operations. This experience validated for me that my service as an elected local official on the Santa Maria Joint Union High School Board of Education has broadly prepared me to step into the role of a city council member. The governance expectations and processes are similar, and I'm confident that I will be able to perform the city council duties with fidelity. I have had other leadership roles throughout my lifetime, beginning in high school and leading up into the present. As a member of the medical community for nearly 30 decades, 30 years or 3 decades, I have served the medical staff leadership in multiple positions. I started as a member on various committees and was chosen as the chair of the Department of OBGYN. 2 years later, my colleagues chose me to be part of the medical staff governance team. It's a multi-year commitment, serving first as secretary-treasurer, vice chief of staff, and then immediate past chief of staff. My father and I are the only father-daughter to have been chief of staff at Marion. I've been a lifelong student of medicine, a profession that lends itself to leadership through the practitioner's work to systematically obtain subjective and objective data, then analyze the data to arrive at an accurate assessment of the patient's problem and condition in order to render appropriate care. This requires the practitioner to remain unbiased, consistent, and measured in the contemplative process. In times of emergency, I remain calm and decisive, knowing that the team that I lead trusts me and know that I am working my best to protect the patient and her baby. Patients are always the focus. I've had that same focus on the board. If the values and the direction of policy are in the best interest of students, I have supported it. My aim as a council member would be the same, as this is an embedded personal quality. I would serve the needs of the residents. I enjoy complex systems, analyzing parts to understand the whole. My motivation to run stems from my calling to serve and my love for the people and the place of Santa Maria Valley. And I would like to participate in a council that sets direction through inspired, lofty aspiration for growing opportunities and helping to provide solutions for our community. Thank you.
Mr. Funkhouser, we'll hold our applause till the very end.
Thank you. My family's lived in Santa Maria for 6 generations. My great-grandpa Lopez side, he moved over to Santa Maria from Mexico to work at Union Sugar to provide for his family and make a better living for their future. My grandpa, my Sanchez side, he came here to minister to Spanish speakers, and their desire was more about community, and it was about making a difference for both their family and the community. And their commitment to this city is why I'm here, why I'm running. It's the commitment of my great-grandparents, it's the commitment of my grandparents, it's the commitment of my parents, who wanted the best for the city. They want the community to thrive. They want to do what's right. They're just regular people, just like you and me. With that, my upbringing, so my parents instilled those type of social betterments, or make sure that I give into the community, make sure that we're being in front of the people that we need to be, support the people that need help. And with that upbringing and experience within my community, it's encouraged me to take the next step, to run for city council and use my experience to ensure the city that we all know and love realizes its full potential. I'm a husband and father of 2 beautiful daughters. They might be here today. Maybe not. Small business owner and a committed volunteer. I'm on the board for Fighting Back Santa Maria Valley. I'm chairman of the Antlers Youth Program, and I'm 2 cycles of presidents for Leadership Santa Maria Valley. My upbringing, I already said that. This is basically just the next step in a lifetime of dedication to this community and region. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hernandez? Yes, thank you.
My name is Maribel Aguilera Hernandez, and I am a daughter of 2 immigrants who are here today. They met in the strawberry fields in Rio Grande, and they're from Michoacan, Mexico, both of them. I was born here in San Luis Obispo. We moved to Santa Maria. I went to school in Fairlawn, then Robert Bruce, El Camino Junior High, and Santa Maria High School. I am a true local. I have lived in Santa Maria all my life. I then left to go to college. I got a bachelor's in psychology. Upon returning from college, I really thought it was important to serve my community. So I worked for North County Rape Crisis as a sexual assault advocate, helping victims of sexual assault. I then went to go work for Future Leaders of America, where I led a teen organization youth program, where you teach children and youth how to be leaders. I then worked for Legal Aid Foundation, helping victims of human trafficking, domestic violence, sexual assault, by helping them get restraining orders against their attackers. I also then decided that it was time to go to law school to be a true advocate for the vulnerable population. So I went to law school while working full-time at Legal Aid Foundation, which was not easy, but that's what I do. I always take on what I think is important. Priorities are important. And after that, I returned after finishing law school, and I worked for Legal Aid Foundation as an attorney, which was so rewarding because I was helping victims of domestic violence. And it was really cool because I can speak Spanish, and a lot of them felt connected to their attorney and had a true advocate who could understand their culture and who could speak their language. So I empowered women, because like her mouth says, empowered women empower women, and that's really important. And so after doing that, I decided that I wanted to do something else, and I started practicing business and real estate law. And in the meantime, I have been sitting on the Planning Commission for the City of Santa Maria. So that's where I gained all my experience, and I've learned so much about the city. The 3 things is public safety, youth, and business development. And that's why I'm running today, because I think we need a true representative of who the community is, and we need to move it forward. And we really need to make changes because we are at the pivoting point for the city. Thank you.
Councilwoman Soto?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Gloria Soto, and I am currently on the Santa Maria City Council. I was elected in 2018 as the youngest woman ever elected. I was born and raised in this community. My parents are immigrants from Sinaloa, Mexico, and I was part of the first graduating class of Pioneer Valley. I went to Allen Hinkle College, where I graduated with my associate's degree, and then went on to Champion University, where I completed my 4-year degree, all while working full-time. Over the last my experience on the City Council these last 4 years is what's really prepared me for this role, and I hope to continue serving my community in this capacity. I've been a nonprofit professional for the vast majority of my life. Over the last 10 years, I've really dedicated to giving back to my community by serving in these nonprofit roles. I worked for Planned Parenthood California Central Coast in expanding access to reproductive health care. And I'm currently the executive director of Future Leaders of America, a nonprofit organization that spans from Ventura all the way to through Santa Barbara County in providing opportunities to young people of color, especially when it comes to education and fighting against unjust systems here in our community. And I'm really proud of that work. As I mentioned, these last 4 years is what's really prepared me for this role in continuing to fight for the working families of our community. For instance, I'll be continuing to champion affordable housing. As we all know, that is an issue here in our community, as well as continuing to expand opportunities for working class families and young people. And lastly, while also uplifting the needs of our small business owners. And these platform issues that I'm sharing with you tonight are not issues that, I just came up with on my own. In working on the City Council these last 4 years, and in connecting with community and being that bridge builder between community and local government, I really come to learn the needs of our community. For instance, childcare is challenging. People can't get to work. Again, high cost of housing, and our small businesses are suffered tremendously during COVID-19, and that's why I'm running for City Council, and I hope to continue expanding opportunities for our residents, making sure that our community thrives, and ultimately creating a vibrant Santa Maria alongside my colleagues on the City Council. Thank you.
Thank you. For the second question that you've been sent ahead of time, we'll start with Mr. Funkhouser, and you'll have 4 minutes to answer this question. The question is, what is the best thing about Santa Maria, in your opinion, and what is the thing that needs the most improvement, in your opinion, and how would you support and improve?
Thank you. The best thing about Santa Maria are the people. So, of course, the reason people stay is because of the weather, and but it really boils down to community and the things that we as a city offer, and we as the city for growth. And there's a lot that's the reason I'm here. That's the reason I'm still in Santa Maria, and I've moved away. I went to Barstow once, and I don't know if you've ever been to Barstow, but it's horrible. And then from Barstow I went to Tascadero, and it's also another place where you have to love heat. Then I went to Cuyama, kind of the same thing, staying in, and Santa Maria is really just the best place to live, best place to raise a family, best place to play, and to everything. The biggest improvement that we need to make in Santa Maria is crime. So we have a problem we have issues with crime. And we need to support the police department and make sure that we make an immediate change to the things that are happening in our community. We have gang violence, we have tagging, I'm sure that you've read in the newspaper the catalytic converters that are being stolen, and whole trucks that are being stolen. We have problems in ranches where they're stealing whole trailer beds and they're stealing the ATVs. So we need to make sure that we're supporting our police, making sure that we have the insurance, the teeth to crimes, to make sure that we make the change that needs to be done in Santa Maria. That's it.
Thank you. Ms. Hernandez?
The best part of Santa Maria is the people and the community. While serving as a planning commissioner for the last 8 years through the city, I have gotten to know so many people. And I look back at the service that I provided to the city through different nonprofit organizations, and every time Santa Maria shows up when we're in trouble. If somebody is sick, we know how to barbecue, and we do that really well, and we fundraise, and we come together and we help, and we take people dinner. That is a community that thrives. And when called to the challenge, Santa Marians have always stepped up. So that is really the best part of Santa Maria. We do have really great weather, and that's, you know, probably one of the best things we have in town is that it's never too hot, too cold. It's really nice. I used to work with Texans, and I would call them and I would say, God, it's really hot here. They'd be like, how hot is it? I'd be like, 81, I'm dying. They'd be like, oh, be quiet. That is a nice day in Texas. So, you know, we're very lucky to live here. The things that are challenges for Santa Maria is one, public safety. You know, and when looking whether I was going to run or not, there was a few weeks where we had a stabbing or a shooting every week. It got really bad. I have a 5-year-old, Natalie, who is here today, and I want to improve our public safety. If people feel safe, they will walk. If people feel safe, they will ride their bike. If people feel safe, they will ride public transportation. That would be great because it would reduce traffic and it would reduce pollution. If we don't feel safe in the community, we're not going to go out and walk and meet our neighbors. So public safety is number one. There is no reason why we can't be the safest city on the Central Coast. The police department right now, on a good day, has 16 to 19 officers. We have 110,000 residents. That means that one officer is policing about 5,500 people. That is a lot to ask of an officer. Have you ever tried to keep track of 100 people in a meeting? That's a lot. And so we really need to support. We have 23 vacancies today. We need to fill that. And so that's number one, public safety is most important. Number two is youth recreation. Gangs are really busy putting our kids in situations where they may want to join a gang. We need to attract those activities that bring them and will, you know, engage them. And number three is attracting businesses who will bring jobs that are diverse to our community. That is really important because they all go together. If we feel safe, our kids will feel safe, and it's really important that we, support our children to go out and join groups, volunteer nonprofit organizations, and really thrive in this community because I know that we can do that. So, really, recreation and educational activities for the youth is number two that we need to work on. Number three is working on affordable housing and, like I said, attracting businesses that will bring better paying jobs because a lot of our families are living paycheck to paycheck. Thank you.
Councilwoman Soto.
Thank you. The best thing of Santa Maria is the families that make up our community. Santa Maria is made up of working families that love each other, support one another, and that is what our community is all about. And I'm proud to be a resident, and I'm proud to serve this community. And you saw really during the COVID-19 just also the immense and incredible staff that we have at the City of Santa Maria. From our public safety, first responders, all the way to the city employees who made the wheels turn day in and day out. I'm very proud of the fact that the City of Santa Maria, during the height of the pandemic, didn't lay off a single person. That is really our commitment to working families, workers, and keeping people employed and making sure that we do what we can to lifting people out of poverty. The biggest crisis that I really see our community facing at this moment in time is unaffordability. You see that with inflation, you see that with the high cost of housing, and oftentimes when I'm talking to residents, the first thing that they say is that they can't even afford to buy eggs at the grocery store. They can't afford to live. That is the crisis that our community is facing at the moment. And when you talk about how we can improve the lives of our community, it's not by adding more cops on the streets. That's not going to keep Santa Maria safe. What's going to keep Santa Maria safe is by making sure that they have the essentials to provide for themselves in a dignified manner, in a way that they can also provide for the families and really, again, lifting families out of poverty, lifting families out of hardship. And how do you do that? Is by having political will to really address the high cost of housing. There are solutions available that all it takes is that political will. I'm really proud of some of the housing policies or complexes that we've approved here in the city of Santa Maria, from the Cox Bungalows, for example, where we are really providing housing for some of the folks with the most need, and that's what we need to continue to do. Housing affordability, like I said, is a need, as well as really supporting our young people. Data shows that the earlier you invest in young people, the less crime you see in the community. And so when young people, children thrive, communities thrive, families thrive, and that is what we need. We need a reallocation of resources to really support our young people, and I plan on doing that by proposing that 5% of the city's general fund balance goes towards a youth fund where we can help families pay for childcare, early childhood education, and investing in youth programs. And also, going back to the piece of unaffordability and the fact that our families are on survival mode day in and day out, that's where providing opportunities for upward economic mobility really comes into play. And I plan on doing so by really working alongside our labor brothers and sisters and creating more opportunities for skilled labor here in our community, training facilities, so that young people who, for whatever reason, decide not to go to college, they at least have the tools and the essentials to be able to learn the trades and, again, provide for themselves in a dignified manner. And of course, working alongside our school districts is going to be incredibly important. We don't work in silos as a city council, and we need to work hand in hand with our public educational school systems, because the more education, the more literacy our young people have, the better Santa Maria is. And that's why I fought hard, tooth and nail, to make sure that our library stayed open during COVID-19. Thank you.
Dr. Karamitsos?
I agree. The best part of Santa Maria is the genuine, caring nature of the people who live here. Santa Maria residents are generous with their time and resources, even when those elements might be in short supply. We know hospitality here in Santa Maria, and we provide hospitality with the real humble spirit as well, and that makes people feel welcome. Santa Maria also has natural beauty, surrounding hills and open fields, and a part of the world that registers on most days at 70 degrees. This topography and climate are optimal for creating a livable city where all residents can comfortably and safely live, work, and play. I think that the area that needs most improvement in Santa Maria is the livability. The large population increases in the incorporated and unincorporated Santa Maria Valley has led to insufficient affordable housing, busy car-congested streets, business development along the 101 freeway without commensurate attentiveness to the historical downtown region, and substantial pressures on local school districts, healthcare communities, and support services. Improving livability requires comprehensive analysis and planning to provide access to key elements, which is including but not limited to secure housing, safe water, healthy food, public safety, healthcare, education, as well as cultural and recreational leisure opportunities. The city alone is not responsible for these elements, but our local city council is the most logical hub to facilitate communication and coordination of many other local, state, and federal public and private entities that can build capacity for enhancing livability. And I think we've seen with COVID that at this time in history, there's such a great value in connectivity. Never before have we had access so easily to information and to being able to connect with each other, whether it's in person, which is tonight the best way to connect, but also that virtual connection. I would address all these issues before me as a member of the council using its established governance process. as set by executive, legislative, and judicial mandates. I would use my practice of intensive self-study, analysis, inquiry, and collaboration to gain increased knowledge and insight into the comprehensive needs and aspirations of the community. Policy-making roles can be challenging, as decision-making is done through group deliberation, which is only possible by careful and methodical collection of qualitative and quantitative data. This data is collected, processed, and presented by the city's department to inform the process. The city leadership itself must continue to strive for unity of purpose, to keep one foot in the now and one foot in the future, to care for the generations of today and tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we're going to have a 15-minute recess so you can write your questions. I'm sure you have some questions after hearing all that wonderful commentary from our candidates. So get your questions ready. Step in the back, and we've got some roll-ups. We've got cookies, water also. So the restrooms are right down the hall also. So we'll check in back here in 15 minutes. That'll be right at 6:30. We'll resume. All right, everyone, let's take our seats so we can resume. You had so many great questions. Who got the great big bottle of water? Okay, wow, lots of great questions. Awesome. Let's do all of these good things. All right. So, where's my list? Okay. We're going to start, these are 2 minutes apiece on these questions. And we'll begin. Ms. Hernandez will be the first to answer the first question. And it is the question where we had
It's not working.
the wireless mic. Is hello? Hello? Okay. Okay, we had the most questions, as you can almost imagine, and they were around housing. Affordable housing, rent, affordable rent, how much should the city be involved, and so forth. So we'll start with, we kind of had to cobble some of these together. So the first part is, what is your stance on high-density housing and its effect on neighborhoods and traffic? Do you prefer high-rise or sprawl over farmland especially? And then the second part of this is comment on your position on landlord-tenant ordinances. Rent stabilization, should the city weigh in on these issues or stay out of these issues? Ms. Hernandez, you can begin.
So affordable housing is extremely important. There are some that are under construction. We have Centennial Gardens, which is 160 units at Battle and Depot. We have the Santa Maria Studios, which are 160 units, Miller and Santa Maria Way. While sitting on the Planning Commission, I approved these, and also People's Self-Help Housing, which is 49 units. There is also Centennial Square, which is 184 units, which is on Miller and Plaza. So we do have some under construction, and we do have more that needs to be done. We don't have enough housing for our people. The workforce needs housing. I've heard Hancock College is interested in building housing, and other employers like Hardy Diagnostics. We need to do more. As to landlord-tenant issues, I think that landlords should talk to the city, be registered with the city so that we know what housing is available and what is not. As to rent stabilization, I do believe that we are due for rent stabilization. There was a study that was done by Harvard that looked at rent control. When we looked at the study, it was really hard to get that study in the first place because it took 20 years to look at the data. And what they discovered was that rent control actually hurt the housing prices because it limited the amount that someone could charge and what the value of your property was. So what ended up happening is there was less rentals because the landlord sold, which is why I think rent stabilization is really the answer moving forward. No one should get a 10% increase, but the state already does that. We do have rent stabilization through the state, but I think that we need to support affordable housing should be a priority for City Council. Thank you.
Councilwoman Soto.
Can you repeat the question, please?
What is your stance on high-density housing and its effect on existing neighborhoods and traffic? Do you prefer high-rise or sprawl, which is building out and potentially in farmland? And then comment on your position on local tenant-landlord ordinances. For example, should the city weigh in on tenant-landlord issues or stay out of it?
In terms of how do we build housing, whether high-rise or sprawl, we are currently undergoing the general plan update at the City of Santa Maria. And this is a great opportunity for us as a city to really figure out or identify the way in which we want our city to look like for the next 40 years. This is an incredibly exciting moment for our community, and I'm really proud of the fact that the city has done outreach to communities to ensure that we get as much participation as possible. Could we do better? Of course. But in terms of do we grow up or do we grow wide? Currently, the conversations that we're having as a city council is really an affordability, not just an affordability of services. How much do services cost how much does that cost in the city of Santa Maria? How much does that cost the taxpayer? And so if we are currently having discussions about the cost of what we currently have, growing wide will only increment those costs. And so part of the solution will be twofold. It will be growing up and possibly a little bit wide. But while we have those conversations, it's also important that we do what we can to protect the precious ag land that we have in our community. Now, in terms of tenant rights, the City of Santa Maria can do more, especially when it comes to unfair evictions, especially when it comes to putting in place policies that prevent unfair just rent spikes, as well as doing away with these verbal agreements that really put families in jeopardy. And so really the only way to prevent homelessness is by putting in place ordinances that protect current tenants and ensure that they're not left out on the streets.
Thank you. Dr. Karamitsos.
The original Santa Maria construction is mostly single-family homes on variably sized lots, and many of these neighborhoods are now supporting multiple families living in one home, leading to some potential unsafe living conditions for the renters, as well as having a negative impact on the nearby homeowners due to increased noise and parking congestion. I would support. Obviously, the infill has to happen, and with infill, if we're going to use high density, you want to make sure that the people in those high density places have access to places where their children can play, so parks, access to grocery stores and other retail, access to rapid transit. I think that parking congestion is a big problem when you talk about high density. And so we'd want to encourage residents to be able to have alternative ways of transportation, so growing our rapid transit, and also our safer corridors for biking and walking. This is a flat valley. I'm a bike rider. I ride all around Santa Maria, and people are riding on sidewalks because they feel unsafe on the roads. So I would like to see that we maybe find some partnerships with some electric vendors who can supply our community with some affordable bikes. I think that there's been several legislative things passed for helping to convert retail and office into housing. And I support a very firm rural-urban boundary, but I do know that at some point we're probably going to have some egress onto our ag land, and that just needs to be in a very thoughtful manner so that we preserve this town, this valley.
Thank you. Mr. Funkhouser?
So regarding the high-density housing into farmland, I'm pro both. So I do like I like building. So I want more housing. I want to be able to house anybody that wants a house. And with that, what we already have set in our plan is more of building up. So until getting farmland to be homes is going to be difficult for us. We have to either annex that side of the 101, or we'd have to have farmers that want to sell their land. And with the growing population of homeless and other problems, I know the farmers are struggling right now, making a profit and keeping the things that they need safe for their workers, safe for us as consumers of their product. When homeless are on the property, they're using it for full services. So they're defecating and they're leaving needles and all the things on these properties. That once that happens, it affects our food and it affects what we can do with that and what the farmer can do. He loses acres of property because of the homeless issues that we have. And but back to the main story, high-density homes. The problem with any of our homes that we're building right now is going to be traffic. It's going to be parking. We already have problems over near Walmart with those homes, and we need to do better. And I think Maribel had said that we need to do more of walking and biking and all the other types of transportation. And we just don't have that right now. Thanks.
Okay, did I already ask you this question, Mary? I'm getting lost. Okay, question number 2. So this time we'll start with Gloria. Councilman Soto. Number 2, what are your ideas to both help the homeless folks in our community and help them from being an obstacle from the sale to safe business operations and attracting new business? And how can we place restrooms in town so that the homeless won't be forced to search for a place to do their business?
Okay, so it sounds like the question is really around homelessness. So as I mentioned in my previous question, the number one way in which we can really prevent homelessness in the first place is by making sure that people have a roof over their heads. And what we've seen over the last couple of years with these really unjust rent spikes is that, like I said, how I've been mentioning earlier, families are struggling and are on survival mode. And so in order for us to really make sure that we're tackling homelessness, we need to start by preventing it in the first place. And what that means is really expanding the rent voucher programs that we have within the city of Santa Maria. And I'm proud to say that I have support from other council members, including the mayor of Santa Maria. I'm also a believer that we need to find ways in which we can put in place ordinances that really protect the rights of tenants, such as making sure that there are no unfair evictions, that we also find ways to uplift our communities through the building of more housing. And so that goes back to infill. And then of course, by finding opportunities so that young people can not only survive and be able to afford rent, but also thrive, and that means home ownership. And that's where I'll be proposing a housing trust fund for the city of Santa Maria, where we have a streamlined sense of revenue coming in to be able to support families and young people and being able to achieve that American dream. And in terms of restrooms, if right now the question is like, what can we do to support people in homelessness right now? I've been working hand in hand with the County of Santa Barbara as Vice Chair of the Homelessness Task Force, and we've been able to bring revenue through the state to really address this issue. And here what we can do in Santa Maria is keep our community park restrooms open.
People and families experiencing homelessness are from a variety of different reasons, and so we first have to address each individual who's experiencing homelessness for the reasons that they don't have secure housing. I think you could probably split it into two main groups. That would be families experiencing homelessness because they lack access to housing. That's where it comes important to support rent stabilization, to support tax credits, affordable housing trust fund, and other private subsidies. The property owner definitely wants to protect their assets and to maintain solvency, but I think through collaboration things can be worked out. In terms of people experiencing homelessness because of trauma, addiction problems, or mental health issues, I would support that we really have to invest in transitional housing. And too often these individuals are, the only opportunity they have to be in a living situation is that they have to be clean and they have to be abiding by all the rules, which they really can't understand. So we first have to have a human being be in a comfortable, safe environment where they're fed and they're warm, and then we can address their mental health issues and their addiction problems, but that's going to take money. In the end, the community saves money because people are cared for and the business.
Stop. Mr. Funkhouser?
Can you repeat the questions?
Okay, let's see. What are your ideas, both on the homeless folks in the community, to keep them from being an obstacle to safe business operations and attracting new business? And what can we do about providing restrooms to homeless individuals so they don't have to seek bushes and places like that because there are no open restrooms for them?
Thank you for the question. I got to attend the Rural Crime Forum, and at that, so it goes to my story that I was just talking about with the agriculture and how we're having problems with homeless. It's a big issue, and you can't just blanket saying that all homeless is the same. So we have homeless because people do lose their jobs, people lose their homes, and the other issue is that people are addicted to things. They have mental health issues. There's a lot of problems that put people into a situation where they're homeless, and we need to work with the county and make sure that we have the services for the homeless, and I have the endorsement from both Bob Nelson and Steve Lagunita, and I've already been working with them on these issues, and I do feel that I'm the best person that can help with those issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hernandez.
So how do you keep them from being an obstacle to the businesses? Well, you have to help the homeless. It is inhumane to not help people who are most vulnerable. The first thing we need to do is we need to look at the categories of what causes homelessness. And the three main categories, as I've been looking at the issues, is mental health, drug abuse, and lack of housing. So mental health, we work with the county. That's what we need to do so that we can provide the mental health services and provide them help that they really need. Having the mental health workers go to the police department so that we can work hand in hand with the county, with the city. You know, the state is bringing CareCorps, but it won't be soon enough. So we need to work on getting revenue to the state, to the county, that will come to the city. The thing is, there's also drug abuse and there's addiction. So we need to focus on developing those programs that will help them. We have that. We have the money, we have the resources, so why aren't we doing anything about it? And so that's what I want to bring to the council is we need to move it forward and we need to help the homeless. The third thing is lack of housing, and you've heard all of us say we are for affordable housing. We need to have housing that they can afford, and we need to work with the county to provide the program for transitional housing that the county wants to bring. They've talked to the city and they said, we want you to pick a place. Where do you want this place to go? And the city has said, well, let's think about it. Where is it going to go? So we need to make a decision and we need to execute. Because we have the money, the resources. We just need the will to move forward and help the homeless population.
Thank you. This time we'll start with Dr. Karamitsos. Question number 3. Small business used to be the heart of Santa Maria. How do we maintain the character of Santa Maria but expand economic opportunity?
I was a small business owner for many years in my private practice. It's tough to be a small business owner. I think we really need to invest and focus on education. We have excellent public schools and private schools here in Santa Maria. We have Hancock College. We just opened A.T. Stills, which is going to have a 4-year medical school. They currently have a physician's assistant program. We have an OBGYN and a family medicine residency at Marion Regional Medical Center. And I would like to see that we work in the city with partnering somewhere around the region to try to attract a Cal State here. That would allow our students to get a 4-year degree with another option other than the limited 4-year degrees offered at Hancock. They could live at home because that's the affordability issue. I also think that we could really make this a very robust tourist industry here in Santa Maria Valley. It's a flat place. We have beautiful agriculture. People drive to Avila Barn. We could have a farm center here. We're located right off of 101. We're the gateway to both San Luis Obispo and Santa Barbara County wineries. We could have it could be a destination for cyclists and mountain bikers. We have PCPA, which is a world-renowned live theater. And with the onset, with the electric vehicles that are going to be mandated, how wonderful would it be if people are traveling? We've got a charging station, maybe our own little solar microgrid to power that charging station and allow these people to come in. They'll spend their money here, but they won't put pressure on our infrastructure and our housing.
Stop. Mr. Funkhouser.
I'm a small business owner myself, and it is tough. And I feel that small business owners are underappreciated in Santa Maria, and we need to make sure that we give everybody the ability to start a business, do whatever they need to do to make their families and their communities better. So we need to make sure that we streamline the ability for permitting and for business license and educating people on how to start a business and how to go about the legal red tape and to do that. And I think that by itself will make things better, especially for the downtown and where we're missing a lot of the small businesses. And when we had all these big companies come in, it kind of drove a lot of the smaller businesses away. So the mom and pops and the more boutique things that you see in San Luis, that you see in Santa Barbara, that you see around town. And these small businesses could revitalize our economy. And I feel that all they need, I think there's lots of people with great ideas and that want to start businesses and that want to do better for, they want to be the entrepreneur spirit. But all they need to do is have that education. They need to have the ability and the city support in getting into that thing. Thank you.
Ms. Hernandez? Small business used to be the heart of Santa Maria. How do we maintain the character of Santa Maria but expand economic opportunity?
I think it still is the heart of Santa Maria. We have a lot of small businesses that have provided services to the city. We need to encourage and help them. We need to provide education, and we need to talk to the small business owners and ask them what they need from the city. We should be talking to them, we should be collaborating with them, and we should help them to grow by streamlining the permitting process, by also helping them because they are the backbone of our economy. And there needs to be a balance, right? Big companies are coming. When Cracker Barrel came in, people were excited. When other businesses, the new one, Cane's Chicken, there's line all around. People are waiting to get fried chicken 2 a.m. I don't know who eats fried chicken at 2 a.m., but people are excited about these big businesses. And because when that happened, we lose the sale to the small business. So I think the city needs to work hand in hand with the small business owners and ask them, how do we help and how do we balance? Because there's plenty of people, 110,000 residents in the city, where there is room for big businesses, but there's also room for the small businesses to help them grow and to thrive.
Thank you. Councilwoman Soto?
Well, I have a strong track record in supporting small businesses, and you saw that during, especially during COVID-19, when I pushed the eviction moratorium, and I ensured that it also included small business owners so that they wouldn't get evicted during those challenging times. And not only during COVID-19, but also with our micro businesses, whether it was food trucks, car wash owners, or folks who are baking cookies out of their kitchen. We're really standing up for them and making sure that they have the opportunity to continue to go explore that entrepreneurial spirit that they may have. And so I believe that in order for us to continue supporting our small businesses, we need to expand opportunities for that entrepreneurial spirit to grow. And great ways in which we can do that is by initiating programs that can support these small businesses with increasing their capital, working alongside the Chamber of Commerce so that we can ensure that our Latinos, monolingual Spanish businesses are also aware of the services and the ways in which the city can support them, as well as working alongside with the nonprofit sector like the Santa Barbara Foundation with the small grants that they are providing for small businesses who were hit hard during COVID-19. And currently the city of Santa Maria has great programs too that support businesses with providing grants for facelifts outside their businesses. And so there are things that are currently in place that we can expand on to continue supporting the backbone of our community, which are these small businesses who kept people employed during some of the most challenging times and honestly kept our city afloat. Unlike other cities along the Central Coast, our community, because of our businesses, we were able to keep people employed, and we had strong tax revenue coming in, and so I'm really proud of that.
Okay, question number 4. We'll begin with Mr. Funkhouser. What is your opinion on current law enforcement practices in Santa Maria?
Thank you for the question. Law enforcement's probably the biggest part of my platform. So I'm supported by the Police Officers Association, and I think that they're doing a great job with what they have. So right now, they're overworked and undermanned. They're doing the job of 3 people, and let me tell you about a story. So I went on a ride-along, and when I got there, the first call that we went on, and this was like a Tuesday, so it's not like a busy day, it's not a Saturday or something. We went on a ride-along, got there, it was a hostage situation. So it was originally it was a domestic dispute, and I'm trying not to give away too many details, but domestic dispute, and the father, okay. So the father took the kids and had a gun in the room. So the police came in with all this stuff that they had, and they used the tools and resources that they had in order to make it so that it wasn't a hostile takeover. They didn't go in guns blazing. They didn't do anything that we as a community would want to put on the Facebook saying, "Can you believe that the police are doing this?" It was well maintained, and they got the kids out, everything was good. From that, we went to a suicide attempt. We took that person, it was fine. So we took him to the hospital, everything was good. After that, we went to a landlord found their tenant dead inside the room. That was a 2-hour waiting, or maybe 3 hours. We had to wait for the sheriff, we had to wait for the coroner, et cetera, et cetera. We didn't get out of there until midnight.
Stop. Ms. Hernandez?
I think that our local law enforcement is really doing a great job. As I mentioned earlier, they have 23 vacancies, and they have to police 110,000 residents. They are really doing a good job because they are overworked, because they're short-staffed. We need to staff them adequately. We need to create a cadet program because we have explorers in high school, but they can't go to the academy until they're 21. So we have that period where it's from 18 to 21 where they may leave, they go to another city. So we need to keep that cadet program in place so that we keep them here in Santa Maria supporting the city, and then we would pay for them to go to the academy in exchange for 2 to 3 years of service to the city. This is important because they're local and they will stay local. You know, our current law enforcement locally did not do what other cities were being accused of doing. They are well trained, they handle the calls very well, and I think they do an excellent job. We need to provide them with technology and with the resources that they need so that they can continue to do the good job that they do to provide the public safety we need locally. Because that's how we will attract the businesses. That's how we will help the businesses thrive. Thank you.
Councilwoman Soto?
As I mentioned earlier, data definitely demonstrates that the more we invest in young people, especially at an earlier age, and the more we invest in education, the less crime. And that is what I'm proposing. As you mentioned, as you've heard, we are short-staffed when it comes to our men in blue, women in blue too. However, really adding more police officers on the streets is not going to prevent crime. Officers arrive after a crime has been committed, after harm has been done. And so in order for us to keep our communities safe, we need to invest in prevention. And what does prevention look like? It looks like a reallocation of resources to fund young youth programs, lifting families out of poverty, as I mentioned earlier, investing in housing, and finding opportunities and ways in which families can really move up economically and provide for themselves in a dignified manner. It's time that we stop criminalizing poverty, and we do that by reinvesting in our communities. I'm also a very proud proponent of more schools and less jails, because like I mentioned earlier, adding more cops, having more jails does not prevent crime. And so we need to do our part to ensure that we support our communities and that we stop this fear-mongering. Our communities, the city of Santa Maria, if you look at the data, between 2020 and 2021, arrest rates have actually gone down, as well as violent arrest. And so that is something that I'm quite proud of. I'm proud of the work that I've been able to accomplish with both police chiefs under my leadership, and I look forward to continuing those efforts here in the city of Santa Maria.
Dr. Karamitsos?
Yeah, this is a very complex topic, and I really feel that it's our responsibility as community members to actually support our peace officers and public safety officers, because it's really irrational to expect them to be the standard bearers for public safety. I think prevention is key. As we look around, when we see people who have needs, then their behaviors change. Behavior always has a reason. We need to make sure that our police officers are safe. We need to make sure that they are responding to matters that are within their jurisdiction. We should not be expecting them to respond to things that are social or mental health or medical issues. Police Chief Schneider actually cited an external audit of the police department that showed that their use of force was minimal and appropriate. So I do think we have a very measured and well-trained police force under Chief Schneider's leadership. I also know as an OBGYN that we have problematic human trafficking and child exploitation, the resurgence of gang activity, predation of our youth for selling, marketing drugs and other illicit wares. This is all things that I think weigh very heavily on our police department, and we need to help them. And that means that we have to be stewards of our neighborhoods, and we have to help those who need the help. It really boils down to equity and providing equitable services for neighborhoods that need it.
Okay, question, next question. We only have a couple more questions. You've been so attentive, thank you. These are interesting. Okay, this one's water. A water-related question on a person who emailed this question in, could not attend tonight. For many years, the City Planning Commission and City Council have pursued a pro-growth policy that has led to more demand for basic resources, especially water. We are entering another drought, and the city is planning to inject treated wastewater into the aquifer to keep it from collapsing. How will you balance growth and the demands it places on our resources with maintaining our current quality of living? And beginning with Ms. Hernandez.
We just attended the training with the department heads of the city, and they actually talked about the water and the water aquifer and how we get state water. And Santa Maria is lucky enough that we have water for the next 100 years. So we have sufficient water. So how do you support that with growth? I think it's really planning for the appropriate. So what is happening right now in the neighborhoods is that we had developed R1 housing, which is residential. And then the state passed legislation that said you can build an ADU and a junior ADU. So now you have 4 families living in a neighborhood that was designed for 1 family. That means sewer, water, utilities are all overtaxed. And so we need to plan better, and we need to really organize and look at priorities. What is important?
but also not just think that the neighborhoods are going to handle that, right? Because we create parking. I live in Montiago, and you see the parking issues on Crossroads. So we have to look at the priorities for the city. You know, housing is important, and we need to plan and develop in a way that is responsible. But as to the water, going to that training with that city was really good because it really allowed me to see where our aquifer was and how much water we get from the state. Thank you.
Councilwoman Soto.
Thank you. Water is such a hot topic issue across the state of California, and what we're seeing here in the city of Santa Maria is that even though we do get state water, that state water has been limited and has actually the percentage of the amount that we can actually receive our allocation from the state has also decreased over time, and it will continue to do so as we continue to be in these droughts. And so we need to make sure that in order to really preserve our groundwater, we are proactive, and that means really limiting and being mindful as residents as to how we use our water usage. The City of Santa Maria Utilities Department has great programs that can help inform residents on how they can limit their water usage and also help identify leaks. We also have to be really mindful of the nitrates. Rising nitrates within our groundwater is definitely something that we need to be mindful of. And that's going to mean us as a city identifying ways and starting to put money into these capital projects in order to make sure that we have the infrastructure in place to get rid of those nitrates outside of our precious groundwater. And also going back to really treating, not just treating, but protecting our groundwater. That includes being mindful of how we grow, being mindful of who's drilling into the base of our groundwater, and also being mindful of the pesticides that are used in agricultural lands. And while at the same time finding innovative ways in which we can combat climate change, because that's also a big trigger when it comes to these droughts that California is facing.
Thank you. Dr. Karamitsos?
Water is life. We're 3/4 water all sitting here in these seats. This is a really global issue. The water cycle is not limited to Santa Maria. It's the entire planet is the water cycle, and we have to be good stewards of water. You referenced the Chumash. I think that looking at the entire environment in which you live as a living, breathing organism is the way that we're going to tackle this. And what that means is that we provide respect to water. Now, in Santa Maria, our water issue is also complicated a bit because we have so much ag land, and it's really the ag land that uses most of our water. So we want to make sure that we're partnering with our farming community, the ag community, to make sure that they are having irrigation systems and water uses that are as conservative as possible. And then I think conservation is key. When I was in LA living many years ago, I was walking down the street and it was a drought, and this lady was hosing off her sidewalk, and I said, ma'am, you're not supposed to be doing that. There's a drought. She goes, there's no drought. She goes, every time I open up my faucet, water comes out. So we have to be, we have to educate people. And also we learned at the thing yesterday that we have a lot of old pipes here in Santa Maria. So we need to spend some money on our infrastructure. And most of all, I want to make sure that we pay close attention to our safe drinking water. We all know the ill effects of that in other communities, and we really don't want to be a community that has that problem. Stop.
Mr. Funkhouser.
Thank you. So the governor has put some rules out that basically, when I walk the precincts, a lot of people are asking me about water. They specifically want to know, why can't we water our lawn? Why can't we wash our clothes, etc., during certain hours? And the truth to the matter is we do have water. The mayor does say that, she said several times that we have 100 years of water. And that being said, I believe we only have 2 wells that have actually been drilled. So we do have to go to the planning and see what we're going to do in the future and how, if we're going to use the groundwater or if we're going to continue to use the state water. The state water comes at a bigger cost than obviously our groundwater, but it would take the drilling. So right now we have drilling rights to water, and we're currently leasing our drilling rights out. So when we say that Santa Maria is selling water, it's selling the rights that we have to the drilling of that water, and we're doing that for Orchid, and we're also doing that for Tacoma. With water, we all need it. So what we plan on doing from here is we're really going to be a communication with you guys as a community, and to see how you want to go further. Do you want to use state water? Do you want to use our own resources and be self-reliant? So right now that would be communication with you guys as a community. Thank you.
Okay, this will be the last question from the audience, and then we'll have a 2-minute piece closing statement from the candidates. So this is the time when they can rebut something that's been said earlier, or they can bring up something new, or they can just present their closing thoughts for 2 minutes. So after this question. And we had numerous ones for this one, and I have personally not heard of Alvin Newton Memorial Plaza, but apparently it's a place. It's on the Bank of America corner of Broadway and Main, and it's a little, looks like a amphitheater kind of. And anyway, what are your thoughts about this? This is a very big topic for this audience. So we will begin with Councilman Soto. What are the plans for Alvin Newton Memorial Plaza?
Yes, thank you for the question, and I'm glad to hear that there is an overwhelming interest in this. As you all know, the city of Santa Maria approved to enter into a partnership, I guess you can call it, with Vernon Group, and this is a developer that's coming in and wanting to revitalize the downtown area, which consists of Main and Broadway. And what that would entail would be building on that corridor, on the corner of Broadway and Main, near the Bank of America and the mall parking lot. And so it's important for folks to know that no design has been really approved. The mere thing that has been approved has been the relationship to it. The thing that has been approved is us as a city saying we want to enter into a partnership with this developer. Designs and the planning, that will come later on, but now is the time for community members to really talk to their council members, call the city, to talk to their local fire department, because we definitely want to honor and honor our first responders, our firefighters. You know, there was a big fire back in the 70s, and unfortunately one of our own perished in that fire as they were keeping our residents safe. And I want to make sure that we continue honoring the legacy of our first responders, our firefighters, who are keeping our community safe day in and day out.
Thank you. Dr. Karamitsos?
Yeah, I'm familiar with that area, and it seems like not a really logical place to build housing in that place. It's a busy corner. It's right on the corner of Broadway and Main. I know that we need housing, but we also want to provide housing where, like I was alluding to before, where if you're going to have children, you need to protect the children. That seems like a dangerous place to put kids. And I also think that, you know, there's that we have to be careful about legacy. We would no sooner knock this building down because it's a historical place then we need to honor park spaces in the same way. If this is a small park that was created for the legacy of a man who gave his life for the city, I think we need to honor that, because we don't always have to build on every single open parcel. Open space is hugely important. If you want to honor the man, create something where people can go and relax and enjoy the space. That to me is also equally as meaningful.
Thank you. Mr. Funkhouser?
Thank you. No decisions have been made on that. It's only in the planning, and nothing's been finalized. So I know where it is. It's a small monument, and it has just a plaque on it. So we can definitely have that communication with Vernon Construction and see what we're going to do with that. Randy Newton, his son, was actually one of the ones that brought this up, and I guess reminded the council that something needs to be done with his father's memorial, and because his father was a reserve firefighter and a reserve police officer, and he was 35 or 36 years old when he died, and he had 3 children. Absolutely, I think everybody on this panel wants to memorialize anybody that loses their life during service. We're going to prioritize, we're going to make it a priority to honor any fallen firefighter or fallen police officer. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hernandez?
As you heard, Randy Newton was a firefighter, police officer, and he also worked for the city water department. He was a true public servant. The death happened when he went out to what is called the Bradley Hotel. It was an old building that was supposed to be abandoned. He got on top with another firefighter who is here today, and they were able to hold the other firefighter, but Randy Newton fell and he passed away. He had 3 children. Randy Newton, his son, Alvin Newton, but Randy Newton is here today. Alvin, it's important to honor Alvin because he was, like I said, just a public servant to the city of Santa Maria. I believe that the right thing to do is to put a plaque where it occurred, because that's where it happened, and it'll allow his family to have a place to go and honor Alvin, and also putting a statue or a monument across the street in our public park, because it's important that we remember our fallen heroes forever, and that the family will have a place to go, but the community will also understand how much this man served his community and the legacy that he left behind. Thank you.
Very good. Okay, I think that was a nice way to end our questions. So now we're entering the very last statements from each of these candidates. So your closing statements will begin with Dr. Karamitsos.
Well, I just want to thank you all for coming out tonight, Friday night, and there's also the big Santa Maria Pioneer game, so I know there's probably a number of people here in the audience that are anxious to get to that game. The questions were very thoughtful. Your attentiveness really speaks to democracy in action, and I just so much appreciate that, because an educated population is able to make decisions in concert with your elected officials. I think you all are really in a win-win situation, because listening to all of us speak tonight, you know that we have a passion, a genuine passion for helping all the citizens in Santa Maria. We are going to be elected from different districts, but on the council we serve for the entire community. It's not restricted to just our districts. Because of that, I just wanted to share with you my priorities. My first priority is to preserve and enhance livability through development of the new general plan, through articulation with other local agencies such as local school boards, through support of the business community and local community organizations, through advocacy for first responders and the healthcare systems. Number 2, enhance economic opportunities by supporting stability and growth in existing businesses and commerce, attracting sustainable new businesses, and increasing professional and paraprofessional enterprises. And these are not in order, because my passion really is to focus on the youth and the children's opportunities for enrichment, safety, and healthy living. Thank you again for coming out.
Thank you, Mr. Funkhouser.
I'm surprised that so many people are still here as well. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to what we all have to say. And thank you for being a part of this election. That's all I got.
Thank you. Ms. Hernandez? 2 minutes.
They say talk is cheap until an attorney starts talking. So I could be here all night telling you guys about our priorities. And, you know, the thing I have to say is that we are a big city with big city problems. And we need to start solving those problems in a creative way. I'm an attorney for a living. I solve problems for a living. I've been on the Planning Commission for the last 8 years. I've learned what those issues are. And as I've sat here today, we've been able to tell how much knowledge I have and the passion that I have to serve this city. I am a true product of Santa Maria. I've lived here all my life. It's really important that we turn the city in the direction we want to go. It's either we move forward or we wither away. And I want to be part of that success, and I want to move that city forward. We need to look at the issues, public safety. If we can make the city safe, we will attract businesses and we will help small businesses. If small businesses and big businesses do well, they pay taxes. And if we have those tax dollars, we have the money for the youth programs and for recreation, which only improves the quality of life. So if we do things correctly, we can do it like other cities. We are big enough. We have 110,000 residents. We are the size of Ventura. There is no reason why we are still practicing and doing things the way we did in the 1950s. That's what's happening in Santa Maria. So I will be a leader that is dedicated to creating an environment where families can be safe, students can excel, and businesses can thrive. Our community is full of potential, and we're growing by leaps and bounds. I will use my experience to create policies and to ensure the opportunities become a reality, because I want my daughter to grow up in Santa Maria and be safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hernandez. Councilwoman Soto.
I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum tonight, and I want to thank everybody here in this audience who turned out. Before closing, I do want to express my gratitude to the residents of Santa Maria who have allowed me to serve humbly these last 4 years. I look forward to continue being in office and continue championing the issues that matter most to us, like housing affordability, uplifting our working families and young people, as well as supporting our small businesses and ensuring that we can thrive through a vibrant economy here in Santa Maria. And so again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your support, and thank you to the League.
Thank you for the audience and the candidates.
Gloria!